Welcome back to another Genre Art with JB. It's been a minute, huh, guys? Or actually, it's been a little less than a minute because this is like my second video of the week. I've been changing up the order I've been putting out videos as my move-in date for the new place up in Burlington, Vermont fast approaches. My life is becoming increasingly more chaotic, and that's a good thing, change is good. I have a few other updates for you guys. For those of you who don't know, I do a lot of holiday art commissions around the fall time of the year, and being that it is less than 100 days from Halloween now, officially today, I thought it would be a good idea to touch on that. So what I do every fall is I work with a studio located in upstate New York that does art pumpkins, and every year I get a substantial amount of art pumpkin work from this studio, which I'm very thankful for. With the exception of last year. I was not able to do it because of COVID, and the director of the studio was gracious enough to, very generous to offer me work, to offer me a spot on the studio team. And I couldn't do it because I'm around immunocompromised people, and it was just too much. Me and my fiance were both going through quite a few changes. So, but this year, I will be settled in Burlington and be splitting my time during the month of October between Yorktown and Westchester and Burlington, Vermont. So it's definitely going to be a trip. It's going to be quite hectic, but I'm going to make it work because I love getting the opportunity to work with this studio every fall. And I'm very excited and sort of psyching myself up for this fall season. So I'll give you guys updates on that. I'll probably post a few clips once the events that we make the pumpkins for have already happened and I'm no longer under NDA or anything like that. I'll post some clips of some of the, with the studio's permission, of course, some clips of sort of the process and how we go about maybe making these pumpkins without releasing any sort of proprietary information, of course, but just like give you guys sort of a general overview of the process, sort of a peek behind the mirror, if you will, for fans of that sort of thing. I think that would be a nice thing for you guys to see. And hopefully we can work something out with the studio where I'm able to do that on my channel. We'll see, right? There is a specific process that the studio uses when we make these art pumpkins, specific products that are sort of like proprietary information because they're dealing with licensed art. But I think that they would be keen on me evangelizing art pumpkins. I think that they would be cool with that if we did it in the right way. In any event, getting back to this piece, you can see that I've detailed quite a bit of the Mule's throne room. One of the things I love about the computer is that we get to add lighting effects in real time to see how they inform the values that we place in our piece as we work our way around the picture. And generally what I'll do is I'll mask in the figures in the foreground first, right? And get those up to a pretty good level of finish, at least portions of the figures, so that I can then, that informs how I'm going to approach the background. And from there, I'm able to bridge the gap between foreground and background, right? By having the background play off what I've put in the foreground. And I work from back to front, and I try to commit to my highlights and my darks fairly quickly. What I'm going to do is actually exit full screen mode right now for a minute. So I'm going to go back to standard screen mode. And I am going to go to my Asimov fan art reference folder. Also, for those of you who don't know, I recently competed in the SEDS Space Art Sri Lanka competition, and I'm very excited to say that I got an honorable mention. And I think I mentioned that last week, but got an honorable mention. Very excited about that. And I entered at the behest of someone who was a fan of my work in one of these groups I'm on Facebook, and he was really cool. Told me I should submit, so I did. And I think we both actually ended up getting honorable mentions. So I'll try and get his name. I know that he's following me on Instagram now, and he's pretty talented. So I'll get his name and I'll shout him out in probably the next video I make. Let's go to Asimov reference, the Mule. Now the mule is one of those characters that is going to cause, that's a cool shot of Boris Vallejo. Sort of, I was looking for ideas for figures reclining on thrones. This is one of his earlier pieces, late 70s, early 80s, I would guess. Let's see. Ah, here we go. It's sort of Gothic looking reference art for the throne room. Really stunning reference art here. So what I want to do is I just want to actually zoom in on this. And I'm going to bring this in. Or rather, I'm going to duplicate this. But I love this sort of design they have here. I love the sort of softer light that they have. I mean, my lighting scheme is way harsher, and that's fine. That's at the top of the drawing. So we want to go back down our layers palette here. I just want to do a little experimenting here. I rather like that. I think that looks a little bit better, don't you? With more subtlety going on there, rather than having it be super saturated. The only thing that I'm going to quibble about is some of these hard lines here. So I want to go to my underdrawing, and I just want to erase out some of these harder lines in my underdrawing here. But I like getting a little bit of this red in here. I think that's really cool, that we can work some of this red into the actual drawing, or ochre rather. And that's something that happens in oil paint. If you keep your paints fairly thin, the gesso actually kind of subtly works into your colors. And it really creates this nice sort of like glue that can, like, you know, bridge all of your values together in a painting without you even really doing anything. You're just applying a gesso in the beginning of the painting process. I also wanted to touch on some oil painting epiphanies I had. I was talking to a colleague of mine, a guy who's a veteran of the business, and you know, he comes out of the romance. He did all the Harlequin romance novels back in the day, and he told me, you know, on the more successful pieces that I had, we made the observation that I left more of a tooth on the gessoed surface. Not a crazy big, not a huge amount of tooth, but like a very subtle amount of a very small amount of a tooth, like kind of what you would get maybe on the linen canvas, which allows the paint to stick more, you know. And you know, that's if I'm working on panel. I prefer panel because it facilitates flow, but if you sand down panel too much, I've come to the realization that it can inhibit blending. It can inhibit achieving a certain level of realism through the softening of edges, because it's hard to get those edges soft if you're taking paint up every so often. So it's pretty good. What I want to do now also is I want to come up a little bit to maybe this section here. And I'm just going to soften this shape here a little bit, see if we can blur that shape. Go to my lasso tool. And I'll put this back into full screen mode in shortly. In fact, let me do that now. View. We'll do screen mode, full screen mode with menu bar. And then we'll do view actual size, so we get a good read on everything. You can see actual size. I'm in there I'm zoomed in quite a bit. So filter, blur, gouge, and blur. bad. I also let's see, select, load selection. I kind of want to make sure that I'm not, you know, that I'm getting some decent coverage here. So what I'm going to do is come in. All right. And make sure that I'm getting that coverage. Maybe I want to come in along this edge here and do a little bit of a stroke, just like a light stroke. What I can do is I can shift the shape of the brush. Without, of course, undoing what I've done here. So I want to make a new shape. We're going to stroke that path. And I'm just checking my messages real quick. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Dune trailer. So you guys might notice I'm a big fan of Isaac Asimov. I'm doing a bunch of Asimov fan arts, right? So obviously Frank Herbert was, by his own admission, heavily influenced by Asimov. He kind of took, you know, Asimov's formula, doing this grand story with a galactic scope, and he sort of injected a little bit more space fantasy into it, a little bit more interpersonal character dynamics and drama, you know, a little bit more of a modern sensibility, right? Less focused on like the sci-fi concepts per se and more on like the high drama taking place, which is fine. And so I was a big fan of, naturally, as a teenager, Asimov and Herbert. Read the first couple of Dune books, really liked them. Tried getting into the third book, couldn't get through it. It's too trippy for me, even for me. I think if I tried reading them again now, I might appreciate them more. But the first book was fantastic. The first Dune book, just fantastic, fantastic story. And let's see here. Just want to make sure that, okay, so let's see. I'll put this all on this layer. So let's stroke this path. But what I was going to say is the trailer just dropped. And what an incredible trailer. I mean, honestly, unbelievable. Looks so stunning. And Denis Villeneuve is going to knock it out of the park. That's my thoughts. Just like he did with the new Blade Runner. You know, that new Blade Runner, honestly, heads and tails better than the original one. More action, better pacing. Really did a fine job on the first one, but the pacing is not for everybody. And it's an extremely slow burn. The new one is still a slow burn, but it's spaced out better with certain action set pieces that just kind of like keep the viewer riveted and on their toes. And I thought Ryan Gosling, everybody, Ford, they all turned in great performances. Ford in particular sort of actually stepped up his game. It was the first time in years I think we've gotten something different from him besides the angry sort of get off my plane Harrison Ford, you know. So you know, I really appreciated that. And just a great performance. I mean, just unbelievable. Really, really stunning performance. And can't say enough good things about the movie. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to kick butt, to use a crude euphemism. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm actually looking at some of these sort of highlights here, and just want to go in, fix these things. But yeah, no, I was a big fan of Dune, and I think that Denis Villeneuve is someone who actually understands and respects the material, and he's not going to try to do anything like that deviates too far from Herbert's vision. If he's just going to maybe update and lend to his own you know, take Herbert's vision and give a very sort of visual aesthetic to the characters that I think would have been in line with Herbert, how he initially envisioned everything. Whereas the problem with the David Lynch film was David Lynch was trying to make an art house film, you know, and that's not Dune. Dune's not an art house film. It's a sci-fi epic. You know, he made it, you know, they did some weird things with the Baron in the David Lynch version that I thought maybe they were trying to be edgy, but they just came across as silly. Like, you know, the Baron's got boils everywhere. But just gonna stroke this path here. It's looking pretty good. So just go in, stroke this path, and we blur this. And that's looking okay, but maybe a little too much. So we'll go in, gouge and blur. There we go. And then we'll just actual size. Looking pretty good. You can see just the lens flare really kind of ties the elements together, like the sort of that having that light source. And then we can always compare, contrast. There's definitely some more piping and brick seams that I can add in here. You know, right now I'm just trying to get these window areas sorted. So in that vein, what I'd like to do is just focus here on this area right down here. And I kind of just got rid of my path inadvertently, so I'll have to redo it. Let me save this so that I don't lose any of my information. No, but I'm really excited about Dune. I like the idea of the Harkonnens sort of being like these really messed up looking people who haven't seen the sun in like hundreds of years because their planet is so polluted. So they just did over the millennia have evolved pale skin, you know, like they're sensitive to sunlight, it seems. And like they've just evolved to like live on this like toxic, like sort of industrial waste planet, Jetty Prime. You know, which we don't in the actual books, we don't actually see. I don't think we see Jetty Prime in the actual book, but it's supposed to be a pretty horrible place. Select, modify, feather, 2. And what I'm gonna do here is just take a look at what I've got, and I'm gonna go to the lightest point. So probably something along the lines of this right here, and then I'm just gonna slap that on, slap dash, right? Slap that on, make a new layer here. I know I can't do that because the sky. Okay. Well, that kind of, I suppose I can make a new layer up here. And then let's zoom out, or let's go to actual size, which we're at. If we zoom in really far, we can see that's actual size. I actually want to soften this edge a little bit up here. Gaussian blur. I'll undo that. And what I want to do is I'm just gonna touch up this section. Took a little bit of a delay. So one thing I noticed is Photoshop is kind of on the fritz. Filter, Gaussian blur. And then view actual size. That's better. Let's save that. And that reminds me. I actually have to check something. I believe I have a digital painting class I'll be teaching later. Let's see. Just gonna go to my Gmail. All right. Just double checking my schedule. Sorry for that, guys. I'm going to wrap this video in a minute. But right, you can see I'm just sort of massing in. I'm still blocking in shapes here. And if I look at this, I kind of want to fix this up here a little bit. View, clear guides. Come out a little bit. Just do that for now. Select, modify, feather. And come on, Photoshop. Ay, ay, ay. Delayed reaction after delayed reaction. I guess that's good enough. And then we'll go do another pen tool. Save that. right. Just gonna load this path. This layer. And then select inverse. Close that off a little bit. All right, that's looking pretty good. Next thing maybe I want to do is lower the opacity on this. And then throw in a little bit of a texture brush on the top here. I rather like that. And maybe a little bit of a texture brush down here. Maybe not. We'll soften that edge at some point, but that's okay. What I could do is then come in here, get a shape going there. Select, modify, feather, 2. By the way, guys, I know that I got a little distracted just now, but if you want to leave your thoughts in comments below as to what did you think of the Dune trailer, right? Feel free to comment below. Let's see. Okay. Oh, back's killing me. All right, there we go. Now this is going to get old, not being able to manipulate my eraser in real time. Save that there. Let me just look here. I've got to sort this area right here. So what I kind of want to do is get a little bit of a drop the tool. Come on. I should probably check and see if I have a lot of programs open too, but I'm kind of feeling a little lazy right now, so I'm just gonna make the best of this and grin and bear it. No, you want to do that. Right. Okay. So right. Okay. Let's see. Just gonna do this. I can't see what I'm doing here. Let's do this. I'll merge these all down so I can grab at things better. Let's blur this. Let's blur the entire thing, this edge. Let's give it a nice soft look. For that matter, let's give these guys a nice soft look as well. So we'll do a Gaussian blur. You can see I do a Gaussian blur quite a bit here. Another blur you can do is radial blur, which also works just as well. Not too bad, but we're jumping the gun a little bit. Cancel. Now we'll do a Gaussian blur. Let's go actual size. Let's blur this down now. So merge down. Let's blur these edges here. Filter Gaussian blur. And I'm just trying to nail down it's not bad, but still needs a little something more. Just like, let's see here. come in. Rather like that. All right, let's get this squared away here. Filter Gaussian blur. Let's do that again. No, I don't want to do that. Let's see now when we plug this back in here. That's more like it, I suppose. More of a defined edge to that arch. Let's see what happens if I add like a more of a stark highlight here. For those of you who are curious, I do teach remotely digital painting, specifically sci-fi. With an institution called the Atelier at Flowerfield. We have a digital painting class that's going on right after this recording. Create. Yeah, no, my Photoshop's definitely on the fritz. So there we go. Let's do this. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. So I'm just trying to copy some of the piping that I see here. And you know, I think on this note, I'll zoom out, show you guys what I've got, and I'll cut the video here. But do a bit more of this, and then I'll upload this. And by next week, I should have a bit more of the background done, right? So that's sort of how I'm working it. Just kind of figuring this area out, figuring this area out, and then figuring this area out. Well, that's about it for today. I will see you guys when I see you. All right. Until next week, thank you for joining me on this journey to the planet Calgon, and have a great day and talk shortly. All right. Take care, everybody.